Mate, I'm not sure about that at the end, but I'll tell you what, another banger. Again, we can only disappoint after that kind of intro, mate. Unfortunately, just feels too good. Feels too good that intro. But how you doing, pal? You all right?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, and it's a cracking intro, isn't it? Too jazzy almost, but you were
too jazzy, too jazzy.
Too jazzy. You were saying last week that you were trying to think what American band it sounded like. The singer sounds a little bit like the guy from The Offspring. That's what kind of twigged in my head.
Yeah, it is the singer of The Offspring, but it's a band. It's another band. It's not Blink 182, is it? It's something like that. One of those American bands.
Yeah.
My youth, many years ago, watching American Pie and stuff like that. But no, here we are. This is a football show, believe it or not, guys. Top 20 takes. Looking at the Premier League and looking at all the results that we've had over the last sort of week. And and what better way to start it than the behemoth of a fixture that is the Manchester Derby. Obviously, Man United in recent years have not been up to the standard of City. I know it was United's for 15 years, so they can't moan too much. But certainly a big game at Old Trafford and a huge result and performance from Michael Carrick in his first game in charge. Tell me about it, Lou. Tell me.
I thought Man United were very good in this, Paul, in terms of shape, 1v1 defending, attacking intent. Harry Maguire should score very early on, header off the bar. Ahmad has the ball in the net, as does Bruno, offside by a toe. Incredible double save, though, from Donnarumma in the second half. Don't know if you caught that. Goalkeeping of the absolute highest calibre. And he made a few in the game. The goal just after the hour that puts Man United in front. Sweet a first touch as you'll ever see from Brian and Bomo to set off the counter, and then he finishes at the end of it. Dorgu makes it 2. Well-timed run and finish. They were excellent second half, Paul, Man United. It's the best I've seen them play in a long time. For a moment, almost 3-0. But Mount's goal is chalked off. Very early days, mate, for Carrick at Man United, but I mean, if they can produce consistent performances at that level, I know you know what I'm going to ask you. Do you think he stands any chance of getting the job full time if they keep playing like that? Big if.
I'll tell you something. If I was a Manchester United supporter, I just because what it rang for me was it was so good. It was like it was rolling back the years for United. The front foot, the bravery on the ball, the commitment to the game. I just thought it was really good. My issue with it was that it stunk of when Mourinho left. Do you remember when Mourinho got the sack? And then the metrics after the game were that every single Man United player had ran further in the game after Mourinho had left than they had in the entire season built up to that point. And my question there was, why? Because that performance is intrinsic. You know, a manager can come in and can say the right things. He can set the team up slightly differently, but that was chalk and cheese from what we've been seeing from United in the past sort of, well, God knows how many years now. And I just asked the question: if they can produce performances like that, why haven't we seen it? And why does it take a new man to walk through the door for that sort of performance to emerge? Because I would be personally a little bit annoyed about that. Because to me, that's a motivation thing, and that shouldn't be. You shouldn't need motivation to pull on that red shirt. That arguably the biggest club in the world, alongside 3 or 4 others. Why on earth has it taken this long for it to happen?
Well, it's either got to be a motivation thing, or it's got to be a sense of freedom thing. It can be that sometimes especially when a manager comes in that they perhaps don't think he's going to be here beyond the end of the season. It's kind of like a little bit of a mental holiday in a way. They're away from maybe Ruben Amorim, who was under pressure, probably had certain expectations of them, wanted them to play in a certain way, in a certain shape. Someone comes in with slightly different ideas, wants to get them back to basics a bit more aggression and intensity and a little bit more running in them. Maybe they just felt a little bit more free in this game. There's that as well. But like you say, the motivation side of it, you shouldn't need any motivation to be a professional footballer, should you? And certainly not to play at that level. And you would be, I agree, you would be disappointed having seen that and thinking, why aren't they capable of that week in, week out?
Yeah, and it kind of, I think there's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of questions around this because I was watching, okay, I was watching Man City earlier, and they got turned over by Bodo Glimt earlier this evening. Um, and from what I saw of Man City, and I know that Jack Grealish is has come back into some form. Been a little bit inconsistent with Everton, but he certainly looks to be flourishing at Everton. Because and what he said in a recent interview was he just lets me go and play. And I think that I think it's certain types of players, but also I think Man City, having watched them tonight, the only time they had any success was when they were playing the ball around, and all of a sudden they lump it 30 yards up towards Haaland, and all of a sudden they look like they're a dangerous side again. And I know that there's a necessity to be able to keep the ball in modern football. I think most sides are relatively adept at doing it. But I just felt like when they were 3-1 down to Bodo Glimt, I just said to myself, they've got to be going for it. You know, if it were me, I'd have Doku, and I'd have my other winger on the other side, pinning him back, be it Shirky or whoever they wanted on there, just pinning them back, pin them in, and just keep them there. Do you know what I mean? Stay on the shoulder of the last man. Forget 1,000 passes in midfield. Let's get the ball forward. Let's get it wide. Let's get our danger players on the ball in those areas. I felt the same when City were under the cosh at United. What they needed to do is get City's best players one-on-one with their markers, isolate them and get the ball up a bit quicker. You see Haaland all the time frustrated, and I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but I see Haaland all the time doing this. Give me the bloody ball. You can see he wants the ball. Nobody wants to thread the pass. And I'm saying, give the man the ball. He's arguably the most dangerous number 9 alongside Kane in the world. Give him it if he wants it. If he's going to make a run, let him run. He's 100 meters in 11 seconds. Let him have it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just think there's a little bit too much of this, and on the edge, keeping the ball on the edge, etc. It was almost Klopp's, gegenpress, the high intensity stuff that almost undid for him. And I think there is room for that again. You know, the balls into the box, a bit more directness in the football. Would you not agree?
I would agree, and I think that's what we're used to in this country. Certainly, I think certainly when other managers have come in, but certainly when Pep comes in, there's more of an emphasis on structure, isn't there, on patterns of play, and we saw that against Man United. And like you say, I haven't seen the Bodo Glimt game tonight, but sounds like very much the same again. They're not used to often, Manchester City certainly, and Pep Guardiola, not used to being in a losing position either as often. Normally they're in front. So don't really have the experience in how to come back from those situations, or certainly not often. But a bit more directness, especially when you have an archetype number 9 like Haaland as well, who is just such a threat. He's got everything about him, hasn't he? Pace, power, can run beyond as well. Certainly is something I'd like to see more of.
And I think Man United showed them the way a little bit. I thought the counter-attack goal from Fernandes and Mbeumo was top draw. Direct running, committing defenders, getting them on the up, playing the timing of pass and weight of pass was really, really good. And sound finish that we're used to expecting from Mbeumo as well. So I thought that was really good. And Dorgu took his chance really, really well. Again, not many people would have thought he'd be on the score sheet, but there he was in the right spot to go and do it. And like you say, maybe that freedom to get forward and get in those positions, we might see a bit more of that from Dorgu. Who knows? I know Bruno had a goal disallowed, and a little bit unlucky with it as well. So the Man United was fantastic value for that victory. And I think that having watched them tonight pass, and get nothing, I think they had 5 shots on target tonight away at Bodo Glimt, who, I shudder to imagine what their squad was purchased for and how much they pay them, but they certainly humbled a all-star Man City team tonight, and fair play to him for it. So good stuff from United, and can he continue to do it? The proof will be in the pudding, mate. Whether he can get that out of them, but they'll certainly be confident, won't they, off the back of it? So we'll see. On to Chelsea and Brentford. Routine one for Chelsea, a nice solid 2-0 home victory.
Yeah, and a debut Premier League win for Liam Rosenior as Joao Pedro and a Cole Palmer pen settles this. First goal was initially ruled offside but overturned by VAR. Brentford were a threat at times. I mean, at set pieces notably, but Palmer converts a penalty after Kelleher brings Delap down as he fails to control an overhit ball. Looked like Brentford created the better chances in this, arguably, Paul, but Chelsea have just got the quality to make it count. Remarkably, though, only Chelsea's second win in the last 8 games. Is it fair to say that Rossini's job might be harder than some think? Does expectation exceed their actual ability to maybe go for that top 4? I'm not sure they're necessarily a banker for that top 4 position, but they would expect that, wouldn't they, with the squad that they have?
I think they're in a little group of about 4 or 5 who will fancy themselves. I've said this about Villa a little bit, and been proven a little bit this weekend with the results. They've been winning by the odd goal, and I think that is, fair play. And it's, Rodgers has been massive. I think they lack a little bit at times if he is not quite sparkling like he has been recently. They've got other players who can do stuff. Tielemans is a good creative player. Watkins is obviously a proven scorer. But yeah, I'd say that Chelsea are in that conversation because the ones around them, the Liverpools at this point, and the Aston Villas, they're not really showing any consistency either. And I think that Chelsea have still got a lot of ability. We're still waiting for Cole Palmer to hit top gear, in my opinion. I think we might see a bit more from him in the last sort of stages of the season. We know how good he can be, because he'll want to be on the plane, won't he? Going to for England. So I think he needs to cement that a little bit by putting in giving it some of his best form towards the end of this season.
Yeah, and we want him to be in that kind of form going into the summer because he can be a real X factor player for us. It's where to play him though, and that's the problem we have with this England side at the minute with Morgan Rogers and Jude Bellingham and Cole Palmer and Kane. Saka, where do you put them all?
Saka's, yeah. There we go. Saka, he's going to be in there. Don't you worry about that. Then we've got Eze, who might not make the squad. Madueke, who's been excellent when he's played for Arsenal. It's embarrassing, isn't it? The riches that you've got across the top, but you've got to make it fit. And I finally feel like Tuchel might be the man to say, no, yes. I think he's somebody who does know how to do that. And and it's no bad thing. So yeah, we'll keep that one for another one, mate, because I think we'll probably do a show on that at some point. To Leeds United marching on together. Can they pull away into a lovely, comfortable mid-table position? Because they are looking hard to beat. They have got goals in the side. Nice volley to finish off Fulham. They're going to be fine, aren't they?
I think they are. Daniel Farke's side leaving it late, but a goal from Lucas Nemicha in added time seals it for them. Cracking improvised finish from him, wrapping his foot around the defender on the end of a cross. Really, really spectacular goal. Felt like it could have been more. Leeds were really, really good in this, I thought, attacking with speed and intent. Aronson, Calvert-Lewin, Nemicha, all the threat at times. Beaten once in their last 10 games, Paul, in all competitions. I mean, you've just alluded to it. What kind of job is Daniel Farke doing there? They seem to improve all the time, don't they?
He's doing an excellent job, but I thought he did an amazing job last season in terms of the football that was being played and the expansive nature of their play. He's gone away a little bit from the style. He's almost changed the way they play a little bit. It is more pragmatic. It is now. I think they're finally discovering how to play to their strengths a little bit now that Calvert-Lewin's been fit and firing, getting the ball wide, getting it into the box. They're a threat from set pieces. They're hard to break down. They've got a goalie that can save the ball all of a sudden, and now they're a side that's hard to beat. It all looks on for Leeds, and fair play to him. And because he's had his critics, even from his own supporters. Conor McGilligan, we won't say anymore. But yeah, he's certainly proven a few people wrong, and I'm quietly pleased for him because I think his stints in the Premier League, he's been a little bit hung out to dry with the sides that he's had. Certainly the Norwich side that went up and haven't really had a go, have they? At times they've just been like happy to be the yo-yo team and trouser chance the fat cash to see that Delia can have a nice holiday. But yeah, I'll say no more. I'm sure the Norwich fans will know more about it than me. But no, I think Farke's good value, and I think I'm quietly pleased for him. There was even talk of when he got promoted of him firing him before he'd even kicked a ball in the Premier League. So he'll be hopefully he'll be entering that boardroom with a cross my palm with silver sort of attitude when the opportunity comes for him next. Liverpool, the stuttering season of Liverpool continued at the weekend with hard to beat Burnley in town, proving very hard to beat. In fact, they couldn't do it, could they?
They couldn't, and they are hard to beat, Burnley. But from Liverpool's perspective, another really underwhelming result for Arne Slot. A game in which they missed a pen and led through Florian Wirtz as well before Marcus Edwards level it in the second half, which was a really good finish. Bit of a Xabi Alonso-shaped shadow hanging over Arne Slot, do you think, Paul, at the moment? Although he's been linked with Spurs as well. Do you think Arne Slot's days are numbered, or do you think the success of last season might just see him through? There's, short memories in football, aren't there?
Yeah, I'd say that a few of his stalwart players haven't been the same. So some of the players that have brought them that success, I'd say that Alisson has been decent, but he's not been the Alisson that I've seen before. I think Van Dijk has dropped off this season from being arguably the best in the world where he was. I don't think he's shown that level of consistency and performance this season at all, really. To find a partner for him in Canate, I don't think he's done himself any favours this season. Had his head turned by Real Madrid, apparently. Gravenberch was a big part of their success last season. I think he's been in and out with injury, hasn't he, a little bit, and that's kind of cost him. We looked at the signings; they look great on paper at the start of the season, signing some proven players at this level. Hasn't really worked out for any of them. Wirtz, you could argue, is now starting to show a bit more. He's probably becoming the success story. Ekatike early doors arguably was a success story. Isak just hasn't got going really for them, and obviously with his now, bust ankle or whatever, bust leg, whatever he's got a few bit busts, I think, from that challenge. So it's a tricky season for Liverpool. I think that the proof will be in Slot's job will depend on whether they make it into that top four. I don't see them getting rid of him before the end of the season. If they don't make the Champions League, you can't think that a manager can survive if you're managing Liverpool.
No, and especially not with the expenditure in the summer. Like you say, some players just haven't worked out for them. It's good to see they're getting a little bit of a tune out of Florian Wirtz now. They've changed his role a little bit, which seems to have worked better for him, probably finding his feet in a much different league, a different standard in some respects. But yeah, I agree with you completely. I think it's going to depend on whether they get to that top four. They finish fourth. He probably survives by the skin of his teeth.
I think so. I agree. On to the remarkable job Regis Lebris he's doing down at Sunderland. A lot of managers now that you're looking at, potentially some of the bigger clubs. I know Chelsea have gone left field with their appointment, and we'll get onto him when we discuss the game. But he's we haven't discussed the game already. So yeah, I know with Rossini is a left field appointment. Much like Maresca was, really, and they're showing a little bit of faith in managers that haven't really got that proven track record at the level. But there's a lot in and around this division, isn't there? In Areola, Glasner, and now we've got Lebris as well, who is doing an unbelievable job at Sunderland. They have racked up another victory. Has Palace's season been marred now with this Guehi rumour to City? The manager saying he's not coming back in after the summer. Probably, we don't know the full detail of why that is. Is their season about to unravel a touch? Not taking anything away from the 2-1 victory that Lebris has again masterminded. But yeah, I just worry about Palace a touch now.
It does seem to be unravelling a little bit. I mean, I remember on the same day they got that kind of double blow news of Gay going to Man City. and Glasner announcing that he wasn't going to stay beyond the end of the season. I was doing the transfer updates for Ramble FC, or certainly the window updates, and did a double one for Palace. I was a busy boy that day with Crystal Palace, and Mateta being linked with a move away now as well. Potentially Juventus in at one point. They've called their interest now. Aston Villa does seem to be unravelling a bit for them, mate. But to touch on Sunderland, as you say, we've got to give Regis Labrie a huge amount of credit for the job that he's doing. Edging towards certain survival, I would say now. They don't need to do a lot more in terms of points. Looking at the table, pretty much there, and it's only January. Enzo Lefebvre and Brian Brobby, again, turning it around because Palace went in front with Pino, which was a nice finish as well. Speaking of clever finishes, though, Brobby's is brilliant and off the bar. Great centre-forwards goal. Something that interested me, though, mate, I was looking at the performance metrics for the division, and as I say, you don't always read into this direct or specific reasons as to why teams are doing well or badly. But Sunderland don't rank that highly in many. But are they great at some of the less measurable stuff? Positioning, organisation, discipline, decision-making. They've got a lot of that, haven't they? They're great defensively, and they break well as well. They're exciting to watch on the counter.
Yeah, for me, it's like you say, all those factors you're talking about that are immeasurable. They account for a lot more than possession and XG and stuff like this because, like you say, there's no metric for being in the right place at the right time and stopping shots on goal. They've got a brilliant keeper. They limit teams to very few efforts against him. They're not awesome in possession, I will say that. They look good on the break, and they're really, really well organised. I mean, the way that their shape out of possession is textbook. It's Mourinho-esque at times, for rolling back the years for him. So I've got to give huge credit to Labrie. That's how you survive in the Premier League. They've made the correct type of signings. I said Brobby, for me, had a lot of calibre coming over here from Ajax, and his record was brilliant. And he wasn't getting in the team. And I was like, yeah, I think he's decent, and then they'll need to give him a try at some point. And again, he's paying them back. Another good signing. Not many have gone to the dogs for them this year, have they? In terms of the signings, unlike many other teams. And I'll segue beautifully into my next part, which is Spurs and West Ham. And when you talk about disappointing signings, well, this is incredible. I was saying to a Spurs supporter who I was talking to him, and just he was saying to me, "Oh, the manager." I said, "You look at that side, and you look at the attacking threat. I think they've got a lot of streaky hit and miss players at the top of the pitch there. In Odobert, in Kolo Muani, in Siemens. I think they look good in spells, don't they? But they are nowhere near the standard of the guy who you've left behind. So I'm talking about Harry Kane. I'm talking about Heung-min Son. I'm talking about guys that are really good. I know they've missed Maddison, whose numbers are always good, even if you don't like his performances all the time. His numbers are terrific. They've missed that as well. They love Lucas Bergvall. I want to see a bit more from him in terms of his numbers personally. If he's gonna go in there, he's not necessarily a holding player. If he's going to be someone who joins in attacks and has got that ability, I want a bit more from him as well. So I just think that there's a lot that I don't think the quality of the player is there at the top of the pitch for him, and I don't know if you agree.
I do agree, and I look at a player like Richarlison who has his day. Sometimes he's got a good game in him. We don't see it often enough. Flats to deceive. They have no spearhead, do they?
He's streaky, isn't he? For me, one week he looks like a world beater. The next week he couldn't hit a barn door. And I think it's a little bit symptomatic of what happened with Solanke as well. I thought he was excellent for Bournemouth. He had spells for Spurs where he was, a physical presence. You've got to be a bit more if you're going to be the Spurs number 9 replacing Harry Kane. It's not his fault what his price tag was, but another disappointing signing really. As it's unfolded. So 1-2 West Ham, who couldn't buy a win, have managed to get one at Spurs. Romero, we know he's can attack a ball well. Poro's got a bit on his delivery. 2 defenders they're relying on for goals, mate.
They are. They seem to be relying very much on that. And but from West Ham's point of view, clawing back 2 points on Forest, Callum Wilson with the last gasp winner. Someone that was linked with a move away at one point. There were whispers of it, which I couldn't believe in their current situation. But not just a vital win for West Ham, a derby win against the Spurs side, like you say, that are struggling to get goals from the areas that you would typically expect them from. I felt like there was more urgency in the West Ham performance, mate. I don't know if you agree. Maybe just starting to understand the gravity of their situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was saying whether Jared Bowen's going to be the man who carries them on his back to safety if it's going to happen. But it's nice to see Somerville showing a bit of the confidence that he showed when he was in the Championship. You know, if you don't shoot, you can't score, and he had a go and he got his reward. Yes, it was a deflected goal, but you've got your attacking players. He's been a bit again another disappointment for West Ham. Fulkrug, unbelievable performances for Germany. Comes into the Premier League, can't buy a goal. They've been slightly unlucky. Paqueta, you know, again, has all the ability. Has he got the temperament for a relegation scrap? You tell me, answer on a postcard. Let people decide that, because I think that West Ham will need players like that. Certainly Paqueta, certainly Bowen. You'd like to think if Wilson's fit, he should be a player that comes in for them. And hopefully Somerville takes a bit of confidence to make it interesting for him, because, mate, they're a big club with a big wage bill that will need to be trimmed heavily. And there's a lot of players who aren't going to be willing to stick around for that Championship fight, I'm pretty sure.
No, and certain players like Jared Bowen, I mean, he sticks out as the main one that you just think there'll be too many takers for him if they do go down. I think you said it last time we had a conversation. He might be a little bit scared of leaving because of Danny Dyer, but someone throws enough money at him and offers him a chance to play in the Premier League again, he's going to take it, isn't he? He's more than good enough.
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be 15 suitors for him in this division, so I shouldn't be worried about it if I was Jazzy B. That's for sure. Forest, a good home team at the minute under Dyche, hard to beat. You know, an Aka Buster again. Oh dear. So yeah, the bookies rubbing their hands together. Forest 0, Arsenal 0. The strong defence of Arsenal holds firm, but the attackers just haven't quite got it. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about City. They look to be stuttering a touch now. Arsenal, are they doing the same thing?
I think they are. I mean, they were somewhat wasteful in front of goal in this one. Fortunately for Forest, because it was an important point for them, given West Ham's result. Sells in the Forest goal with a brilliant save to deny Saka from a header. I don't know if you caught that one. That was superb. VAR check, though, for a possible handball by Forest in the area. Commentators said at first that it would have been harsh. I've seen them given, mate. I would be interested. Don't know if this is on the list for tonight. I would be interested to get Gaz's opinion, because it looked like he very much scooped it back into play for me.
I don't know. I think there's a case for you there, mate. I think he kind of motions his hand in the direction to keep it in. It would have been. Yeah, he'd have needed an armed escort out of Nottingham if he'd been given. That's for sure. So yeah, we'll let Dunny talk about that one in a minute. The re-emergence of Wolves. No one saw it coming. I think it might be too late. We know it. We know it's too late. But Rob Edwards making them a hard team to beat all of a sudden. And I thought the performance was really good against Newcastle. I know Newcastle are a bit streaky this season. Sort of, you never quite know what's turning up for them. They can do you 4-0 or they can lose 2-0. It's been a bit like that for them, hasn't it, with Newcastle this season? But going away to Wolves and a point, Wolves are one of those sides that Newcastle will be looking at the table going, we've got to take 3 points at Wolves.
Yeah, and I'm pleased you said that about Wolves, because I wrote very, very firmly in my notes that I thought Wolves were very good in this. It was a good performance. Positive signs from them in terms of that improved performance. They didn't offer a lot going forward, really, but they were nice and solid. He never really looked like they were in any danger. They always had a couple of players back on covering defence. look nice and solid, as I say. Newcastle missing the opportunity to go fourth. Voltemada and Visser just not quite at the races in this one. Like you say, some days they
Does
can
he need
blow
to play them
teams
together,
away.
mate? My question when he's replacing one with the other, does he need to have a look at them together?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I guess when you go to play two natural strikers, let's say, or two number nines, as you might consider them to be, you probably need to then play a little bit more direct.
Do you think Wisser is a number 9? Do you think he's? I've always seen him as a bit of a more of a wide forward. I don't remember him being an out and out striker personally.
Well,
He,
yeah, I remember him playing more like that for Brentford. He seems to at times take up central positions for Newcastle. I mean, certainly when Voltemada's not there. Voltemada's an interesting one for me as well because looks like a very typical number 9. But I see him do some of his best stuff when he drops into the 10. So they've got a couple of good options there, bit of flexibility. I mean, he's maybe someone that they can, yeah, as you say, play in a pair alongside. I suppose it's where you play Visser because you've got Anthony Gordon as well. You've got some other options in those wide areas like Harvey Barnes. It's a competitive squad. Maybe this is why Visser's not let the tyres up for him yet. Maybe just needs a regular run in the side in a specific role.
He's been a bit unlucky, I think, with injuries, hasn't he? In his defence. So yeah, I think that there's some light for Wolves. I thought they looked like a Premier League team, and I haven't said that very often this season. Wolves, I thought their performance showed bravery and quality at times that made them competitive in the division. More of that this season, and they won't be where they are for my money. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with them and see how many of their players down the road and who they can keep. But certainly a positive from where they've been, I would say. So fair play to Wolves on that one. Aston Villa. Oh, the thinness of this squad is the worry for me. And whilst they've been on a terrific run, you can't say anything less. Everton have gone and done a number on them. And young Barry, is he the one? Because I spoke about the three behind the striker at Everton being a formidable three. When you've got Dewsbury Hall and Dye and Grealish. And now is Barry the missing ingredient? He took his goal beautifully, didn't he? Over the goal, dinked it over Martinez, who hasn't covered himself in glory. Don't often say that because we think he's a top keeper, but Barry took his opportunity beautifully.
He took it really well, and we've seen little moments from him recently for Everton as well. Certainly a player that looks like he could do a bit for them. You know, they've maybe struggled at times for forwards that have got that level of consistency or the number of goals in them that you would need to kind of push Everton up the table. They've tried with Beto, they've tried with one or two others, hasn't really worked. Excellent goal from Barry at the weekend, and another David Moyes special, grinding out a win on the road. What a win. Jake O'Brien has the ball in the net from across as well, but his teammate is offside. There were numerous times in this game I thought Everton did very, very well and looked...
Can I just give a shout out to his teammate that you mentioned there, Armstrong, the young 19-year-old who was, the commentators were waxing lyrical about his performance. Busy, brave, showed quality, was in and around everything. Yes, he was responsible for the disallowed goal being slightly offside. It happens. But other than that, what an excellent performance and a potentially brilliant find for Everton. Let's not take it away from Villa. 11 wins at home in the build-up to this. But Moyes' record, 10 away games won for Everton. Incredible record, really, when you think about where they were last year and the job that Moisey has done for them, for West Ham. They turned their back on him. I'm sure they'd have him back now at this point, but you've got to take your hat off to him for that. And I think that he's assembling a really strong setup there if they can get that consistency, if they can build a bit more on what they've got for next season. A couple of pacey players, and you can see Everton being a bit on the rise there.
You can, and with some of the quality that they've got at the top of the pitch, they can hurt teams on the counter as well, which plays into that David Moyes style, maybe, in that ability to go and beat teams narrowly away from home. We know how difficult it is to win away games in the Premier League. There was one incident, just changing subject slightly for a moment though, mate. I want to ask Gaz about James Garner. Very lucky not to see a second yellow for me early in the second half. Pushes Morgan Rogers over as he's bearing down on goal. Can't remember quite if he was the last man. I don't think he was. I think there may have been a covering defender. But it's an opportunity there, and he pushes him in the back. He's already on a yellow card. Like to take Gaz's view on that if possible later. So he's watching in the background. Keep an eye on that one, Gaz, if you've not seen it. Have a look at that.
Yeah, and then finally Monday night, Bournemouth going and Bournemouth producing a really strong display, suffering with quite a few injuries to some of their top players. Clivert's out now for, probably for the season, but they went there and they were really in charge in that first half at Brighton. Brighton coming back in the second half with a brilliant equaliser from a Tavernier pen in the first half. What did you make of the performance, mate? I thought Bournemouth were good value for their point. I know they were hanging on at the end, but I thought they played really well.
I thought they played really well. I would agree. And in that first half, as you say, really kind of dictated things somewhat, and a difficult place to go, Brighton. The penalty decision, again, it might be another one to ask Gaz about. I'm not a fan. It would probably tick boxes in terms of contact when Verbruggen comes out and meets Adley. I'm just not a fan of such a minor contact leading to a penalty. I don't know. We'll get Gaz's take on it in the rules. But yeah, as I say, after that VAR check, Tavernier puts the penalty away. It's not until added time at the end of the game when, and I am going to make my best attempt to pronounce this young man's name, 18-year-old Greek midfielder Karalampos Kostolas with a wonderful bicycle kick to rescue a point.
Well done, mate. Well done there. Well done, that lad. The way I remember it. Do you fancy a Kostolas if you're talking to your missus or something like that? Yeah, that's the only way I'd remember his name. So Kostolas, yeah. Yeah, great stuff. Well, we've mentioned his name about 15 times, so we might as well say hello to him. Hello, Mr. Dunn. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, gents. How are you?
That's good, Mr. Glasby.
Yeah, I'll be a bit higher now.
The great Glasby down there, look. Looking smart. So there's a few, mate, isn't there? There's a few little ones we want to speak about. I'm going to take you to the big one, the big Manchester derby to start with, and it's Dalot on Doku. Okay, how did you interpret this one?
Yeah, so the contact is high. I don't think you can see that by whether you look at the VAR view, the camera view, even in real time. Everyone knows it's high. I think this splits a room again. I really do. I think it can split a room.
It doesn't. The replay doesn't, surely, mate. Everybody knows that's everybody. Everyone I've spoken to thinks that should be red.
So, and I get why people think it's potentially a red, but then when you look at law and what serious foul play hits, the big one is excessive force, and if you listen to it, and it came out after, they talk about a glancing blow. I think if a red's given on the field of play, I think VAR won't get involved. But I also think because of the yellow card as well, I don't think VAR. I think they go with the on-field decision. I really do on this, because I think it is a glancing ball. Yeah, he's caught him, but it's not. It's just there's not excessive force. There's not enough force, speed, and intensity, and they're the big three things: force, speed, intensity in that challenge, and that's why I can see why Anthony Taylor's gone with a yellow card. And I've not heard anything from the organisation of what they put out before. We're talking about the glancing blow, but I think people want that to be left to the referee on the field of play. That one, I really do,
mate. I think it was a red, and the reason I do is I think when you stud show, and I think when you anything that studs like this, and there's contact with the other player, you go in. That's not great. The only thing that I could make an argument for him is his foot is there, and obviously he's kicking the ball, which then his momentum carries his foot towards his ball, towards his foot, rather than him smashing his foot through, if you know what I mean. So you can argue his was more of the stationary foot, and he kicks the underside of it. It was the height that was my problem. I thought putting your foot up like that with your stud showing, going in, kind of knowing he's kicking through the ball, you know that he's going to try and clear the ball for me. So yeah, that's why my thoughts were it was a red. Trying to think about it from the ref's point of view. I mean, like you've said, if it had been red, I doubt VAR would have got involved. No. And I know there is a necessity for them to back their man on it.
I don't think that's not why, by the way.
Do you
And
know-
because
sorry.
it's going to be. Go on, Paul. Go on. Say.
So what I would say there is, if I was the VAR,
Mhm.
I think because of the nature that VAR is being used and the way it's being used, as when the referee makes a call, we almost nearly know. There's very few occasions, and when it happens, we're like, oh, fair play, the ref stuck to his guns on it. When the ref gets called over to the screen, I almost feel like the ref is then obliged to change their decision to whatever that is being reviewed, because they feel like they may have made a mistake in that instance. For me, I would have been way, way happier if VAR had said, you know what, come and have a look at it, because we're not sure if you've quite picked up on the height, the studs, and that,
But
without the
yeah.
obligation to change the decision. And then if he said to me, right, well, actually, I've watched it in real time and I've watched it in slow, and actually, I still think it's a yellow, I would be so much more happy with the decision as it stood. Do you know what I mean? In terms of
No, I
than
get all your points. I really do, and I can see why people think it's a red. I can see why, but when you come onto things like that, it's like the referee is, believe it or not, is saying so. The referee on VAR gives his on-field decision, and he'll give his reason why he's given that on-field decision in that moment. So when he's seen that, he's probably, and I've not heard the comms, by the way, so I don't know what's been said. He's probably gone, seen point of contact. He's caught him on the knee. I don't think excessive force is there. I don't think it's high intensity, things like that. I'm going yellow card. VAR know what decision he's been made, and that's been tightened down after what happened at Spurs, where VAR gave the offside. Do you remember that a few years ago? And that's why that's been tightened around. And you always go, my on-field decision is. So he's told VAR that already. And I get your point of, if you go over to the screen 9 times out of 10, you will see the referee go with what VAR have said. There's a reason for that. It's because of the threshold that's there. So, for example, VAR don't want to get involved unless they have to. And if they have to, 9 times out of 10, they've hit that bar of the referee's made an error here, and the referee's going to look at it and automatically go, hang about, you know what? I've made an error there. And that's why the percentages are higher if you go to the screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I just like, I would love a referee to go to the screen and go, no, I'm sticking with what I've got. Not in an arrogant way, but just going, I've seen it, I've watched it again, I needed to watch it again, and now I'm sure I'm happy with my first decision.
If you go over to the screen and look at it after, we want to set that high threshold of VAR interventions, and you want to hit that high. If you're being called over and you've seen it, you've seen what you've seen on the field play, and then you've seen that, you are more entitled to go to it because you're there for a reason. Here, there's another official that thinks you need to have a look at this, so you're more likely to. And also, second of all, I've seen referees say no, and 9 times out of 10, they usually come out and say VAR should never have got involved. So that's why that happens, and they do turn it.
Is there space for an opposition appeal
challenge?
Challenge.
So I don't know if there's talking the IFAB about that. I'm not 100% sure. Could it be something potential? I think they're always looking to improve it. The league are always looking to improve it as well, and to find other ways. I don't think it's a bad idea. I can't remember, it was on Talk Sport probably about 2-3 weeks ago talking about this. I can't remember who the two people were, and they were split decisions. I don't think it was Danny Murphy. I think it was somebody else. It might have been Gabby, but yeah, I can see that idea being put forward if it comes into fruition.
I think the key thing, though, guys, is that any layers that they add to it or any changes that they make, we've got to avoid it creating further delays, because that's one of the big things, isn't it? The delays that it's causing and that what impact that has on the spectator, the paying punter. Yeah. We need to avoid that.
I think my main problem, you're right, it is the delay, and you lose a bit of momentum and things happen. But it works in American football. They call when they think there's a wrong decision. They say, right, well, we want to contest that.
Same in cricket as well.
Yeah, similar story. So you've got to. I think it's. I think there's room for it. My issue is with the goals. I think that there's way too much of looking for reasons to get rid of to chalk goals off. I think sometimes you're going, oh well, we'll check this, and there's almost
so Paul. So every goal gets checked, no matter what. Every single goal in the Premier League, VAR check, no matter what. Yeah. And the thing is with offside, especially with the semi-automated and all that, it's a factual decision, and they've put that tolerance level into that. So as soon as that tolerance level is in there, and John Lundstrom's big toe is over, he's offside. It's a fact. It's like rugby. It's a factual decision. I get it. I just don't. There's no way around offsides. Offside's offside.
I've got opinions about offside, mate. And,
I know you have.
And what I will say to you is, I want a little round table with a few of us on it, and you in particular, to talk about Arsene Wenger's proposal.
Bring it in. Bring the Wenger.
Yeah. Maybe not this one, but certainly I want this out because I am fully behind it. I think it would add so much to the game.
It's a great decision by the assistant referee, by the way, to call that offside for Fernandes.
Bruno,
in full speed.
Yeah.
It is literally 15, 20 centimeters, if that, and he's seen that and spotted that. That is somebody who's a top quality official there.
Yep. Yeah. Get that one in. Get that one in, Dunny. Good luck. The union is strong. The union stays strong.
I'll be honest, you know me.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, of course, Dunny. And just as long as we're being honest, you thought that it was a red card for Dallo, didn't you? Out of interest.
Me? No, I don't. I don't.
Come on, mate. Tell the truth. I've got your message in front of me. Anyway, so the Arsenal penalty shout. Aina making a very strange decision, in my opinion, to have his arm look like it was motioning towards the ball to keep it in. I know there's a lot of Arsenal fans would agree. You disagree slightly.
Yeah, I do. I think there's two things here on this decision. One, he's hit his shoulder first and then hit his hand. It has hit his arm. There's no question about that. No question about that. For that moment, he also gets a nudge from his fellow defender at the same time.
His teammate.
By his teammate. He gets a nudge. He does get a push. That arm for me is in where I'd expect his arm to be for the motion that he's doing. And that's not keeping the ball in play or using his arm, by the way, Paul, before you say that.
Mate, it looked like one of the Thunderbird men.
Nobody, nobody wants that as a penalty, surely. That is not a penalty. It's hit his shoulder and it's literally just ran down his arm. It's not a penalty for me.
When you're chasing the title, nobody wants it. I know the Arsenal fans.
That's not a penalty for me. It really isn't. It's the big thing as well when you talk about handball is if it comes off the body straight onto another part onto the arm, you're not really going to give it. You're not going to give that handball unless that arm is in an absolutely unnatural position. It's up in the air, something like that, making your body bigger. Yeah, it's not a penalty, and especially with the secondary contact by his own defender as well. I don't think it is. If it is his other arm, by the way, maybe because his arm's unnatural.
Well, that'd just be basketball, wouldn't it? That was a different sport. So yeah, and then there was also the Armstrong one we spoke about a moment ago with being slightly offside for the Everton header, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this comes back to when we've talked about offsides before about impact, and he has gone to play that ball, so therefore he's impacting straight away. Once he goes to play, he's gone up for the header. Yes, he's not hit it. He's come for an offside position to do that. He's affected the defender. He's affected the goalkeeper. Therefore, it's an offside. Goal can't stand.
I think you're right. I think the idea that he didn't touch the ball doesn't really matter because, like you say, he's jumping for the ball. He's competing for it in the centre. Yeah. He's put the defender off behind him by being in his way. Yeah. So, I think it's as a club who's definitely a victim of those types of things. I think it's. And
even Sean Dyche came out and said I can actually see why that was disallowed.
Well, there you go. You see, Dyche, very diplomatic in his old age. And then there was one. Was it Rodgers at?
Yeah, I know Lou mentioned this one as well, the Rodgers one. So I can't remember who did the foul again, Lou.
It was James Garner.
It was James Garner, wasn't it?
It would have been a second yellow, Gaz. I was surprised he didn't see one.
So I think it's a foul, yes. I think it's a foul. There's two hands in the back. He's pushed him. It's not Dogso, so there's covering defenders, everything like that. Get that one in for you there, Paul.
Old Dogso, love that.
Yeah, he's not denying obvious goal scoring opportunity at any point. I think it's a foul. I don't think it's a yellow card either, by the way. I don't. It's just a shove in the back. It's careless more than reckless, as we say. And reckless is the threshold for yellow card. It's just a shove in the back. I think it should have been given as a foul. I really do. But I don't think it's a yellow card. I think Stern were talking to, saying, look, you need to be careful, kind of thing, and use that stepped approach that we can use. But yeah, just a foul for me. But then again, they might score from that. You never know.
You never know, mate. You never know. Anyway, right. So let's have a little. Oh gosh, I'll have to do this one now. Let's have a little sneaky peek at the Premier League table, just to have a look at where as to how things stand in the big league. And you can see, I didn't realise that it was this big, but Arsenal stretching out into a 7-point lead on equal games over Manchester City. 16 games left to play, gents. Is it Arsenal's title to lose? We'll talk about that first, then we'll talk about the top four. Arsenal's in a 2-horse race. Are Villa the ones to drop out, do you think?
I think so, mate. I mean, I would worry about the lack of depth compared to the other two. Not that they particularly lack depth when you look at the rest of the division, but I mean, you look at the fact that they've just sold Daniel Marlon to, I think he went to Roma, didn't he? They've got to look to replace him. I know they've been linked with Tammy Abraham, with Mateta at Palace. They probably need to do something because, Watkins picks up an injury. And they're lacking options up top all of a sudden. So I think that is what really would make them drop out to me. They just don't have the rotations and the depth that the other two have. Arsenal looking good at the moment, but they've been there before, haven't they?
They have. And again, we have to give our... personally, I think watching Man City tonight and watching them at the weekend, I was of the opinion that they were going to start to really... motor on. I know Arsenal have drawn the last couple, which to them is a slip based on the form and the way they've been playing this season. But yeah, 7 points is a bit, and City will have to get back on the horse fairly quickly if they're gonna bridge that. With 5-6 games to go, they'll want to be within striking distance. And Arsenal proving still to be hard to beat. I don't know how many they've lost this season. Is it 2 there?
2.
So that's for me. After 22 games is a really good record. Obviously, the ones just below who are going to rein Villa in. So we've got Manchester United, who will be full of confidence. You got your Chelsea side, where PSR doesn't count, and then you got Liverpool, who are having a poor season by their standards. Still hard to beat. There's a few too many draws in there for Liverpool standards, I'd imagine. But they're 3 big dogs waiting just behind to snap at your heels if you drop the ball a little bit. And it feels like that's kind of happening with Villa. Just a touch, 1 win in 4 in the league, 2 defeats and a draw.
Yeah, it does feel like that's happening. And you look at, like you say, the big dogs in behind them. Man United catching my eye a little bit there with the number of goals they score plenty, don't they, Gaz? But seem a bit leaky at the back looking at that goals against record.
Yeah, they do. I think I probably agree with the goals Manchester United score, and with Carrick. And Carrick's got a good coaching staff there, from what I've seen at the weekend as well. They've got Jonathan Woodgate in there as well now. Obviously, ex-centre half. Can definitely bring something to Harry Maguire and that back line. I think Villa have got the ability to stay in there. I really do. If they can stay injury free, and like you say, that's the big thing. Liverpool, I think that top 4 that's there could be them. I can see Liverpool starting to pick up results at some point. They've got to click at some point. But Manchester United, I think, will push them through, push them quite close. Chelsea. Depends what Rossini can get out of him, isn't it? Can Palmer hit the ground running after coming back?
Yeah.
It's going to be a good. I think it's out of them top 6 though.
Yeah, history tells us that Liverpool, Man United, and Chelsea should, with their squads, start to see the benefit of those big squads towards the end of the season. So I think Villa will be everybody's second team in the Premier League this season for if they can try and stay up there. Some of the ones below there, so you're looking at Brentford, Newcastle. Newcastle obviously want to emerge out of that group and try and challenge the ones above. There's not a lot between them really, is there? When you consider it, Everton on 32. Liverpool on 36 there. So it's still very, very, very tight. We're waiting to see if somebody can put a run together. I think Newcastle, of the group of the teams down there, are obviously the most likely because they've got a few more high caliber players in the squad. But take nothing away from Keith Andrews at Brentford. What a job. The 4 wins and a draw before the disappointment of the weekend. But my word, what a job he's done to carry them to safety. A lot of people's relegation fodder at the start of the year, and we've said it before. Them and Sunderland were in people's bottom 3, weren't they?
They were, and again, it's down to just very considered, very successful recruitment from them. Looking with Thiago being added up front this season, who's been a real revelation for them. But Jordan Henderson as well. Since he's been at Brentford, he's been terrific for them, hasn't he? So just really good recruitment again from Brentford. When they lost Visser and Mbumo in the summer, you were thinking they're going to find it difficult, but they're great at that churn, aren't they? And putting the squad back together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a little look down at the other half, the undesirable. Obviously, Wolves picking up recently, no defeats in 4, 3 draws. If they were W's, mate, they might be thinking something different. But they'll be looking up with a little bit more confidence. Massive win for West Ham. Look at that record that they're rocking at the minute. Forest with a win and a draw, getting out of their little slump of 4 defeats on the bounce. Crystal Palace. Well, are Crystal Palace, with all the chat and everything else, about to find themselves in a bit of a scrap, lads?
Well, they're the ones that seem to be just sort of creeping towards it at the moment, don't they? Obviously, they've had some movements in the January window as well. They just seem to have really, you look at the form there. They were going so well at one point, weren't they? And they were even looking very difficult to beat away from home. And they just really dropped off, obviously losing Gueye to Man City. And Glasner's announcement hasn't exactly done anything to lift the mood around the place. I don't know. What do you think, Gaz? Do you think Palace are in danger of getting sucked into it? Or do you think there's just, maybe not enough of an ability for the teams below them to pick up enough wins to pull them in?
Yeah, I think they'll be. I think they'll be okay. I think they're in a battle, yes, but I think they've got enough in there to. I'm going to say, obviously they signed Johnson, didn't they, from Spurs at the weekend? So proven goal scorer in the Premier League there. I think they'll be okay. I think Spurs. I think they'll be okay. I really do. Bournemouth, how much is that transfer going to hurt them? And I think Leeds will be okay. I'll be honest with you, in my opinion, I think the bottom 3 are going to be the bottom 3, which is going to be a massive shock to West Ham. I think Dyche will battle with Forest and get them out. And I think Leeds, I don't know. I think Leeds have got a very good chance of staying up, mate.
I think Leeds will finish above Crystal Palace. That's my hot take for today. I don't know how big it is based on the form of Palace, but I think Leeds are proving hard to beat, and I think they're going to pick up more points between now and the end of the season than Palace are for sure. Bournemouth's performance at Brighton was really good, so not as worried about them, but still they've got work to do. Forest, again, I think they've got more in there than West Ham for me in terms of players who are going to nick them points as well. So I think the bottom 2 are nailed on, Gaz. I think just watch the space for West Ham. I think the next 10 games for them, obviously, and I know that's a big shout. I know it's not the biggest shout, but the next 10 games for West Ham are going to be really, really big because they'll take a bit of confidence from going to Spurs and winning, and we just have to wait and see if Jared Bowen can produce the magic for him. We'll have to wait and see. But no, thank you very much for your input, gentlemen. It's been another good one. Quite a few good talking points there, guys, on the referee in front. Sounds like we've got another show to make, to be honest. And obviously, thanks, Lou, for your Your insight, as always considered, and less argumentative than me. Otherwise, we'd be here all night, wouldn't we? Anyway, but thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. Get your comments in for us, and we'll address some of those on the next stream if there's anything we need to talk about. All right. So you take care, everybody. That has been your top 20 takes.